Welcome back to Hazardous Endeavors.
Yahoo!
Yes.
Yahoo!
Where we last left.
Here we go.
Where we last left our intrepid adventurers, you had received a royal summons to attend a banquet in the honor of the saviors of Coleman's Rest.
Can I just say that this seems like it's a terrible idea?
Yeah, you can.
May or may not be a trap.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
What sort of trap?
One where I have to wear fancy clothes.
Right then.
Could be worse. There could be a giant, shrimp man.
Speaking of which, Fizwick's Tailoring will send Lindo off with a pair of pants that is just perfectly tight enough and just shiny enough in the right places, subdued in other places, with stripes in the right places, so that he walks out and he turns heads as he meanders, or at this point, he can no longer meander in these pants. He can only strut.
And just enough room for you to stuff that sock down there, because let's face it.
It's not the sock, my friend.
So Lindo is strutting down the road. The rest of you have acquired either shiny armor or have acquired a set of clothing that makes yourself look a little bit more presentable, or in the case of Elliot, have brushed your hair.
Possibly.
Yes.
Possibly.
Just one side.
Maybe.
Right. And then, of course, puts his hood on and then immediately musses his hair up, and then, these things happen. So, sure enough, the afternoon passes with you going about your business. Brother Euclid, of course, telling you how much of an honor it must be to go and attend not only the king and his advisor and what nobility must be there, but the fact that it's in your honor and the fact that you are being recognized as a hero for doing Paylor's work.
We'll see.
He seems confused at your apprehension.
This doesn't seem the type of thing that would necessarily have warranted this originally.
He seems to think on it for a moment and says, destroying an evil necromancer and saving a town from the ravenous undead is a feat that hasn't been done in Dariel for many, many years. It is what everyone is talking about. No one has not heard of the savior of Coleman's Rest at this point.
To save the world from devastation.
You're not there.
To unite the peoples within this nation.
Oh, Lord. Help us all. Help us all.
Right. But he says it must be a great honor and that he knows that Paylor be with you and that obviously King Westing is an ardent believer and follower of our shining god and that he is what we all aspire to be someday, a hero in the name of Paylor. So,
yeah.
He waxes poetic for a few moments about it, but you guys are able to gather your things, and sure enough, that early evening, late afternoon, as you guys are waiting at the inn, all kind of...
The king is old, so obviously we have to have dinner super early. It's like 4 p.m. It's dinner time.
But they stay up till like 2.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Since it's been talked about through the town, have I heard anything? And more importantly, have they talked about a shoe?
Oh, Lord. Let's see...
The boot.
So, what is talked about is the adventurers who made their way to Coleman's Rest and saved the town from the ravenous undead and an evil necromancer who attacked, and that an artifact of great importance was discovered and recovered from the ancient lighthouse, that the heroes, word came down that they discovered a secret place in the lighthouse that had never been accessed before, and that from it they recovered a boot, and that this boot is now being put on display in the town of Coleman's Rest as a symbol of the resurgence of the good in the land.
So proud!
The skeptics, of course, say that they stole the boot from some guy walking through the street, but they are quickly hushed by those who want to believe that something good is happening.
So proud!
Better the boot than the bracers.
Actually, yeah, we somehow, through dumb antics, kept the fact that we have the bracers.
So you had it right
secret.
through dumb.
What can I say except you're welcome?
You're singing to the wrong person. I'm not the one who's holding the bracers.
You're welcome.
No one outwardly approaches you about them, by the way, Jaxom.
Okay.
The people in the church are looking at them, but they're like, I don't know, maybe not. Oh, okay. Brother Euclid definitely gives them the once over, but he very respectfully does not pry.
He's
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
He's eyeballing your bracers.
He does mention, though, that, of course, if you wanted to find the best repository of knowledge of any sort of information about Kalendar Brightblade, you would actually have to make your way down to Abbott's Field, where where some of the best kept records of that time are.
Good to know. Good to know.
You're going to find it all right up there.
Jaxom only speaks in 2 words at a time, but double. Yes, yes. Good to know, good to know. I understand, I understand. You're welcome, you're welcome.
Good to know is 3 words.
Yeah, but you said it twice.
So
So
you're
6 words?
How many words is you're welcome?
So you're at the inn.
We're welcome. That's like 3, right?
No.
Lindo.
Right. So you're at the inn when an actual carriage comes rolling up, and another messenger-looking type hops down, opens the door, and motions for you all to enter.
I feel like the Doulahan has just pulled up.
I strut into the chariot.
Okay, yeah. Which again, you have no choice but to do that.
I strut in as well. It just takes twice the time because I've got half the leg.
Right. So you guys make your way onto the carriage. They
But
close the door
twice the hat.
and they whisk you off to the castle itself. So
Whisk, 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 whisk. I just
What a
imagine
stirring
being in
thing.
a bowl and being thrown around and whipped up. High peaks, you know.
It's a
Yeah.
very stirring thing to be whisked away.
So you guys you make your way to the actual castle itself. It's a very grand castle. This is one of the castles that was built very shortly after the War of Ascension. It's a very, very old castle, and it's very grand in design. It's sprawling, even considering some of the castles and palaces that are in other countries. And it actually, you guys get to the outer wall, and then it takes you another 20 minutes or so on kind of a switchback road uphill, making your way to the next set of walls, and then inside to the main keep itself.
Where are we?
The big castle in the middle of Kellenhall.
It's so big.
How many people can be fed on the opulence of this?
I don't know
What
if
is
this is well
opulence?
taken care of.
That actually is absolutely correct. It is old, and it does show its age here and there. You note places where the masonry just has not been kept up. You're fairly certain that the outer wall at this point it's old enough that a protracted siege, it would fall much quicker than some of its newer counterparts.
And here we are, surrounded by dingy buttresses.
Did you... What?
Dingy buttresses.
At least what I'm
What?
saying, Mr. Jaxom, is that I don't think that they're actually spending money on this castle anymore. Or at least not this portion.
All right.
Maybe they are spending it on the people.
I highly doubt that.
So the carriage makes its way up and actually lets you out in front of the main doors of the inner keep, to where you see the palace guard. They are outfitted in much, much nicer equipment than what you see the normal town guard wearing, and they stand proud at their posts, kind of watching eagle-eyed as people are approaching, because you guys aren't the only carriage either. In front of you and behind you, you note there are other carriages of greater and lesser opulence themselves. And as you are making your way out, you are following in and being followed by several nobles, merchants, and kind of the upper crust and the nobility of the Kingdom of Dariel.
How many people were invited to this?
Hopefully, like none. I hope they are all going somewhere else in the castle. It is big enough.
I agree.
So,
Alternatively, all of them, because what the fucking party that would be.
Well, I mean, you want to be the life of the party?
I am always the laugh at the party.
No, life of the party.
Oh, I am not always that.
No, you're not. It's all right. It's all right.
Thank you.
So the grand hall, the entrance hall, as it were, as you make your way in, is hung with banners of the livery of King Westing and some of the other minor nobility on smaller banners here and there. As you make your way into the grand hall, you're then led... yes, Linda?
What is the symbol of this kingdom?
You know, you ask these questions. The symbol of the Kingdom of Kellenhall is a variation on the actual symbol of Kellendar Brightblade himself. In which case, the Kellendar Brightblade symbol was a sword through a symbol of Pelor. The symbol of Kellenhall and the Kingdom of Dariel is what looks to be a kind of a castle with a sun motif over it and a sword through the top of the keep of the castle.
Okay, and the
Red color with a gold emblem.
the royal heraldry of King Westing.
Is that.
Okay, seems a little lazy, but sure.
Right. So, as you guys make your way in, the entry hall is filled with all of this wonderful heraldry, which I won't go into detail with. And you approach a set of double doors where they are ushering people into where the feast is being held. The other nobility, as they're standing around, are looking at you guys walking in with a mix of curiosity, they're not like falling over themselves about you. Mostly they're just kind of sizing you up, but in that way of like, I wonder if these people are riffraff or are they just, because they hear adventurers and they say, oh, you know, they're mercenaries and, you know, we pay these people to take care of our problems, not bring them to dinner. But because you've been invited by the king, everyone has put on their polite face.
Oh.
I strut forward. I flip my coat up. I make a pose so you can see my derriere in all of its glory.
A half-orc woman off to one side kind of fans herself and looks coyly over it at you.
I wink.
Yes, indeed.
You know, you're gonna get your lip cut like that.
You know what? Everything's always an adventure, you know?
Hood is up, very, very, like, covering the face as much as I can.
Okay. As you guys make your way through and are, you know, making your way towards the banquet hall itself, no one stops you. Some people give you kind of a wave and a smile. You get one or two that look like they have a slightly more military bent to them, actually give kind of a stiff bow.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I told him, come back here with my yacht, you bastard.
Yes. So you make your way into the banquet hall through a group that sounds very much like that.
Right,
So the grand dining hall, nearly 200 feet long, and displays the grandeur of the golden years of the Kingdom of Dariel. Paintings and tapestries depicting scenes of victory against the forces of darkness during the War of Ascension hang over the 4 large fireplaces that are in the room.
Hey,
geez, someone has to get over it.
how much do you think those tapestries are worth?
It is a castle, they have tapestries. The table is arranged with serving platters from an assortment of foods from around the kingdom and a few delicacies you guys don't even necessarily recognize, although they seem to have that the smell of some of the spices from the Firelands and the Empire of Four Winds.
So we're talking like just tapas? Or?
Some tapas, yeah. So, some from Far Harad to the north.
All right.
I'm just going to close my eyes and put whatever one I touch first in my mouth.
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, you're pretty sure it's got a couple more layers of spice than you're used to, but for you, it's kind of normal. You like it.
It's tasty. Hey, Wilf, try this one.
No, thank you. I can recognize the type of meat that goes into it. Can someone please point me to a nice meat pie?
There are some what look to be various game pies here and there that have been kind of prettied up.
You know why they call them game pies? Because I'm always game for them.
That was
Yeah?
that was terrible.
Yeah, no, I just sort of mage hand some over to my plate.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Right. Those of course being Artemisia delicacies of the meat pies.
Oh,
They're from a recipe up
the
there.
great thing is you could just pretty much fit an entire one in your mouth.
Like
if
a
you,
whole
if
one?
you
Those
open
ones are
it
kind
wide.
of... Okay, hold on. I'm going to try it. Ready?
Yeah.
You are now being looked at by the surrounding nobles with a mixture of horror and confusion.
I'll pick up a bit of wine, mage hand a bit of wine over from the walking servant dude, and raise it to them. You know, I'll wash it down. Nice.
Elliot, watch. I can put 2 in my mouth. Ready?
Which is about the time that Captain Bale walks in wearing his finer town guard uniform per se, rather than the armor.
Good evening, Bale.
He nods and
Evening,
looks
Capitan.
at Lindo with a little bit of a pained expression, but
He's
nods
started
and
already.
Gives a little bit of a bow.
It's really unfortunate how competent he is at the jobs you actually give him, isn't it?
I am delighted at the work that you all do.
I swallowed too fast.
Delighted. So, as you guys make your way over to the table, servants actually mention that there are places specifically set for your group.
All right.
And they motion to a set of 4 high-backed chairs towards one end of the table. And as
I like these higher back chairs.
I don't suppose they've got, like, phone books or anything.
they are able to accommodate. A set of very nice satin and velvet cushions are brought.
Oh, a booster seat.
I guess it's better than leather-bound tomes.
Right. So as
Sit
you
on
guys
one
are,
holy book, and he just never forgives.
yeah. So you guys are again at this point surrounded by various nobility who, when you're in here, when you're not stuffing your face with meat pies, have actually started coming over and introducing themselves, and they're politely waiting turns as they come up to people, and they say, oh yes,
Elliot,
I
stand
am
behind
from
me.
this
I'll protect
merchant
you.
house, from this long lineage, and we just wanted to ask who you were, and we wanted more information about the triumphant heroes.
I'll distract them with my beauty. Or you can hide.
I do what
Thank you,
I do
Lindo. Truly.
as best I can to
I
remember
won't
names.
abandon you
Okay,
next
it
time.
gets difficult.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I bullshit it.
Okay.
I bullshit it hard. I talk about how I'm from, the prestigious house of Quirk, from the Feldian Quirks. And,
Sure. Roll it.
let's see. Bullshit is deception.
Be an insight roll on their part. Go ahead.
13.
13. Okay. So they seem to kind of be like, oh yeah, Feld. I don't
Yes.
necessarily recognize that, but that sounds foreign.
Very foreign, very, very exotic.
Yes. So they talk at length and great interest in where you're from, and they ask things like, well, what brought you to Dariel, and what do you think of some of the rumors we've been hearing? Someone in town said they mentioned that there is a dread pirate somewhere in town. And,
Oh, a dread pirate. I wouldn't know anything about dread pirates. That's just not in the business I'm in.
Sure you do.
there's some nodding, and oh yes, of course you wouldn't. It's a very large city, of course.
Yes, of course.
Yes. Elliot, you even are approached by one or two people who are like, you get the merchant family who comes up, and they're like, oh yes,
Every time somebody comes up to Elliot, I just stand in between them and start talking at them.
of course. Well, they start talking about how one of their nephews went to the arcane college of Anrilathan, and they would maybe you went there too, right? So you must know them,
Elliot's goal in the entire conversations is to get them to go away as fast as possible.
Did you know I could fit
So
two
even
whole
if
meat
I
pies
did
in my
know
mouth.
that person, the answer is no. No.
Oh, okay. So your reception is quite icy.
Yes.
Got it.
Oh, you're giving them the cold shoulder.
And so, which of course, Lindo, kind of puts himself in the way and starts talking to them about meat pies, and they eventually stop coming up to you. Just
Obviously,
Yeah.
the way that they should have introduced themselves is mention that it is nice to meet you.
Oh.
You can only get away with those jokes so many times.
No, they'll just snowball out of control.
Anyway, then the servants kind of have a bell that they ring, and they say that it is now time for
Not the
everyone
bell.
to be seated.
Oh. Okay, it's fine.
Well,
You left that back in the inn, didn't you?
What? Of course.
Didn't you?
Of course. Yes.
Hopscotch.
I don't think
Nothing happens. And there's a moment of quiet there for a moment. Bale just kind of slow head turn and looks at the group with a look of, I will murder you.
I will help.
I wonder where I put that.
And sure enough, you guys are shown to your seats. You are sitting only about 20 feet or so from the end of the table, which has a much taller, more regal-looking chair. And as you guys are seated, the conversation amongst all the nobles and merchants kind of starts to die down a little bit, and people are kind of calmly waiting and having their drinks filled, and some of the food is basically waiting to be brought out when the moment comes. But from the north side of the room, a set of double doors open, and a group of royal guards enter the hall. They spread out to form a protective perimeter kind of around that end of the room as two figures make their way in behind them.
Bum, 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 ba-da, bum, ba-da.
The nobility at the table all immediately stand up.
I'll stand on my
Stand
chair.
as well.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I stand?
Yes.
Okay. They all stand as King Horrace Westing enters the room. His long gray beard is hanging down over robes that are exquisite in their detailing, but not overly majestic in design. They almost look like, well, basically a royal overrobe rather than actual clothing of court. So he maintains that air of authority without being uncomfortable, because he's a very, very old man.
So he walked down in his royal bathrobe.
Effectively, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I've
I'm
heard
fine
that
with
there's
that.
a lot of a prolific amount of rumors about the king. They call him the Horrace Hearsays.
I see. I see. They're published all throughout the city, and it's the town guard are constantly trying to squash the rebellion down, as it
Yeah.
were.
Yeah,
So,
some
on-
sort of dark library.
Yes. At his arm is a tall half-elf in black and crimson robes. And he is instantly recognizable to the vast majority of the people at the table as the Grand Vizier Kavro Seldtih. And he is
Who's fancy pants?
very carefully on the king's arm, helping him to the table, and then very gently helping him sit down in his chair. And with a wave of his hand, the chair just kind of slowly moves in without scraping or scratching.
Maybe the king's PA.
Is he sick?
The
Die?
as the king sits, the nobility give a bow.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Yeah,
Ow.
Bowing.
And after a moment or so, he kind of raises a hand and motions that people can sit.
And I sit now.
You note that Seldtih does not sit. He stands somewhat close at the right hand of King Westing, and just kind of stands at the ready, just surveying the people at the table, and very particularly getting a good look at all of you.
Sort of raise a glass of, I think, wine.
Yeah,
Is it the-
there's some very fine wine on the table.
Is it the purple stuff?
It is the purple stuff.
Yeah, it's the wine.
Okay, right.
So, a moment goes by where people are kind of waiting. King Westing reaches out to Seldtih, who produces a kerchief, to which King Westing coughs into it several times, and then kind of folds it up and hands it back. And he looks out over the table. Thank you, friends and heroes, for attending to my summons. It is my greatest pleasure to see that noble deeds and heroic individuals still exist in these dark days. And those persons and actions should never go unrewarded. To which he coughs several times and he nods. He motions to the servants waiting on the wings, and they start bringing in the platters of the hot steaming food. And he motions, he says that we shall eat and then we shall talk.
The first bit was a dinner?
No.
Oh.
Why do you think they were glaring at you so hard?
Yeah.
So, as the food is brought in and the various roasts and soups and massive platters covered in exotic fruits and various things are laid out on the tables in front of you, the servants then go about actually cutting up the various different things and actually putting them on plates as they go around and serving you guys individually at your spots.
Lindo, this schnozberry tastes like schnozberry.
What's a snozzberry?
It's this. Try it. I don't know what that's actually called. I'm just telling me it's a schnozberry.
I understand.
Okay. So as you guys are kind of just eating and doing your thing, anyone doing anything in particular? Anyone wish to... Are you just kind of going through your meal?
Elliot is acting like... just like poking at it and eating a couple of things, but he seems very uncomfortable, and it's actually affecting his appetite to the point where he's not eating very well.
Okay.
You know, if you don't try it, Elliot, you'll never know if you like it.
It's not that.
Okay. As you guys are doing that, and as everyone's being served, you note that there is a teapot and a set of cups next to where King Westing is sitting, to which Seldtih actually picks it up, starts pouring in some tea. You see him kind of whisper something for a moment, and then you see the tea and the cup start to steam up.
Oh, hey, that's a cool trick. How do you do that trick?
He kind of slowly looks over at you, like noticing you for the first time.
Hello.
Magic is how I do it. Please consult your friend. He seems to know quite a bit about the subject. To which he then turns as if you don't exist anymore and very carefully places it down in front of King Westing, who shakily picks it up, kind of breathes in the steam, and starts sipping on the tea.
Yeah, it's sort of like this. You know, you pick up a thing and cast minor illusion and make it look like it turned into a carp and is like swimming around your
I
hand.
look at Elliot, and Elliot gives me the I am unimpressed eyebrows.
Easily just a prestidigitation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, I don't have to cast a spell. Except I can't make it hot.
Right. So
You make great gazpacho.
Gazpacho soup!
So the rest of you eat?
Eat,
Yeah.
strike up a conversation with those sitting
I keep trying to talk
across
to
if
Vizier.
they are amenable to.
The surrounding nobles actually are more than happy to talk to you, and they ask many questions, like, where did you come from? You know, without meaning to, of course, they come off like, a half-orc paladin. That is interesting. You know, it's how did you end up in the clergy of all places?
Oh, an orphan! What on earth is that?
But they aside from those kind of weird little awkward questions, for the most part, they're like, tell us more about what happened in Coleman's Rest. We want to know.
And I'll tell straight up.
Okay, so you tell them straight up, which basically you get about halfway through and you notice that people around you are starting to get queasy because you're describing like, well, there were the zombies and the skeletons and all this, and they're starting to basically get noticeably like, oh, that's They were expecting heroic deeds and the stories of epics, and what they get is you cutting through bone and rotting corpses.
How is that not heroic?
Right.
Oh, no.
The
There
people
is
who
gore.
Here, let me
people who've only ever seen combat in books.
let me try to explain this in better terms, and I put it out in prose.
Okay.
The story.
Go ahead.
Also, including finding the boot, and it being what truly struck down the
Roll
Dread
it.
Necromancer.
Roll that perform check.
Roll that beautiful bean footage. It's a 16.
Okay, a 16 is good enough for you to get your story out, and people are nodding and listening, and there's some clapping. You know, people seem to enjoy it.
Yay.
Seldtih, after the first couple things he says, doesn't listen to you at all. He seems to be devoting all of his attention on basically pouring tea for King Westing, or choosing various foods to be brought over, looking them over, checking them, and then
I
providing
totally
them.
don't notice being ignored. I just continue on with my story about where I'm from, a pretty lady, these really sweet bands, all those zombies we killed. Oh my god.
Right.
So many zombies.
So, at this point, Elliot,
I'm kind of being very quiet and hiding, but I have a question.
Sure.
How are they reacting to the fact that there's, a creature they've probably never seen there, since I am not from this plane?
The nobility think you're exotic and think that you're gorgeous and look at that skin, and there's even some mention about, oh yes, well, I'm sure there's some pigments that could be acquired and you could turn yours, oh, it must be magic, it must be a magical mishap, he looks like a wizard, he must be from the arcane college, and things happen there.
So you're saying that they think he looks really cool?
Some of them seem to think
Or
you're
maybe
a
a little
fashion
blue?
icon, some of them think you're an arcane accident.
None of them think I'm a completely different species.
No.
Okay.
Not a single one of them seems to have put that piece together.
So the same things they would say about David Bowie. So at least there's that.
Right.
He's freaky from outer space.
I wonder if any of them actually try to shake my hand.
Well, I mean,
No
you
one
know
would be so
that Elliot
forward as
is
to
an
attempt.
alien, right?
Okay.
Would you allow anybody to shake your hand?
Probably, because what I've discovered is that being friendly to people makes them leave faster. So yes, I would have shaken their hand.
Okay, in which case some of them would have commented on how cold your grasp was, and make some comment about, I guess you specialize in that sort of magic then. Ah, yes. I have a larder you could look at, and our meats would last so much longer. Chuckle, chuckle.
That's pretty funny.
Right.
No.
You're sort of
Then they
a
leave.
refrigerator.
So throughout the whole dinner, you note that King Westing is only eating things that are being passed by Kavro Seldtih first. And the only thing he seems to be drinking is the tea that Seldtih is preparing for him as well.
Well, I mean,
right.
he's old. Seldtih is what? His PA? That makes sense.
Can I roll insight?
You may indeed.
Okay.
Cuts his steamed carrots and such.
With no salt.
Well, a man
13.
at his age.
13. The way he is acting, the way that he's doing things, it seems that Seldtih absolutely seems to care about King Westing. He definitely seems to be going out of his way to make sure that His Royal Majesty is comfortable, that he has the right food, that he's making sure that food that's coming to him is safe. So it definitely seems like he has that mentality about him the whole time.
I bet that the King's taster job is actually a really great job until it's not.
Oh, you mean until it's
Yeah.
like poison, then you die?
Well, I mean, look at the bright side. That's at least the only bad day that you'll have is your last day.
He's like a magic person, though. Wouldn't you just like wave your hand and be like, it's poison, and you wouldn't have to taste it?
Yeah, but you could do that to alcohol, and I got rid of the poison in alcohol, and suddenly you've got grape juice.
Oh, or like hops juice.
Yeah, it's
Old
just
hops
not.
juice.
When you tell your story, most of the people at the dinner, and by the way, there are about 36 people at this table, but everyone, they listen to your story, and even King Westing claps and smiles warmly at you, and says that
Enthusiastic.
that is a wonderful account of great heroism, if I have ever heard. Very well done, young man.
Proud of you.
You did good. You did good. You did good, and I wrote it down.
Does anyone attempt to make any small talk with any of the nobility or King Horrace or anything like that?
I am.
I try to hobnob as best I can.
Okay.
Try to find out the local down low who's getting a little catty with who, that sort of thing, because that could be fun to find
Oh,
out.
nobility drama.
No, but it's like a soap opera.
Yeah, it is. Who's mistress? Who's wife? Who's husband?
How's an 18 on persuasion?
You're able to get some of the little bits and pieces out of things, and you find out that yes, well, that one down there in the gold dress, yes, well, she spent a little bit too much time in the boudoir the other day, and it is said that the eldest son of that one over there in the purple gown, that one has been spending a little too much time around their house, if you know what we're saying. And,
You don't say.
yes, there's a little bit of that going on, and so you never heard this from us, of course,
Mum's the word.
Right. So you basically get wrapped up in noble drama for most of the banquet then.
It's
you
like Desperate Housewives.
are just kind of sinking into yourself and trying some foods here and there.
Yes.
Lindo has been trying this entire time to speak to Kavro, who eventually, after about 20 minutes of Lindo basically telling his story, he'll actually turn and bear his full attention down on Lindo as King Westing is sipping another cup of his tea.
So you've been giving him 1 million cups of tea. What is he, sick?
He gives you kind of a glare, because before it was just kind of this resting bitch face, but it turns into an icy glare. King Westing actually,
I give him a smoldering eyebrow.
King Westing actually puts a hand out and says that my health is not a discussion for a celebratory dinner. It is what it is, but need not bring down the mood.
Okay.
To which Seldtih just kind of scoffs and says that what the king does is for the king to do.
All right. You know what? You look like a funny guy. You got any jokes?
I'm certain that you have plenty for all of us here.
Oh, no, I already heard all mine.
Well, I am apologetic to leave you wanting.
I feel wanting.
So
It's okay. I heard that she over there in the gold dress has been spending a little bit too much time in the boudoir.
perception checks.
I don't know what that means.
I don't need that, but it sounds
This
risky.
could be interesting.
Yep. Lindo?
15?
15. Elliot?
8.
8. Jaxom?
14.
Okay. And Wilf?
Elliot, we're twinsies. 8.
8. So you said 14?
Yep.
And what was yours again?
No, 15.
I was about to say, mine was a
15,
14.
15 and 14.
Yeah.
A 15. So you're sitting there and you're trying to talk to Seldtih, and he's just kind of blowing you off there. You note that this whole time, Seldtih has been putting food on King Westing's plate. And as he's been doing that, it's only been very small amounts, which you at first were like, oh, it's that's kind of normal. He's an old man. He probably doesn't eat too much, all that. And you note at this point that he's been moving it around his plate a little bit, but he hasn't actually eaten anything. He's just been drinking the tea for the whole dinner. And at this point, it's been almost an hour.
Your Majesty?
He kind of looks up. Yes, Miss Espina, yes?
Lindo, Espina, the beautiful Thorn. Long thing to
I
say.
see. Yes.
Just say beautiful for short.
Of course. A little bit of a warm smile and nods, and chuckles to a cough.
Okay, so I have noticed, and I started to pry, but it doesn't look like you have been eating any of the delicious food that your wife has been giving you.
It's half elf, so it's hard to tell.
His look
No.
grows a bit more stern. He says, I apologize, but due to, again, the nature of our celebration, my health should not bring them down. But if you must know, I have not had much appetite as of late.
You should get like some vegetables or like chicken soup.
Seldith's just kind of, enough. The king does not wish to discuss his health, and that is that.
Your wife is kind of mean.
Seldith, you can see, is just kind of like...
PA's personal assistant.
Sorry. Your secretary is pretty upset.
You may indeed roll an insight check.
Oh.
13?
13. Yeah, King just seems like he doesn't want to talk about his health. And Seldith just looks like he's getting really angry about you keep poking him.
Boop, ba-doop, boop, boop, boop.
So at this point, as people are starting to kind of, the conversation's starting to die down, King Westing sits up and says, "It is, I believe, time. I wish to present you all with a gift. You have done such wonderful things for us in retrieving the brazier of Ograd from Coleman's Rest and saving the town from encroaching evil. And I wish to also, in addition to presenting this to you, would give you the opportunity to assist our kingdom once again."
So this meeting is for a job?
He nods slowly. He says, "I would like to provide to you..." He motions over, and several servants off to one side actually lift small chests and bring them over and place them down kind of on a table nearby where you are. And as they open them, you note that each one seems to be filled with gold coins.
Oh, my
says-
stars and goddess.
"I am present to you 500 gold coins each as a thank you from the crown for the work you have done for us.
Dang!
And I request that you agree to do one more thing for us."
I would say I don't deserve this, but I do. Thank you.
Any boon that you ask, Your Majesty, seems quite appropriate to accept.
"It may not be as glamorous as the job you have already done, but I request that you escort a shipment to Jaral. There is a package we must have delivered, and we request that you make sure that it arrives there safely. With the orcs and goblins and other beings accosting our shipments, we deem it necessary to request that able-bodied adventurers ensure its safety."
That seems pretty fair and straight.
Seems like something that could be done.
I feel like it would be a pleasure to serve.
Because you're not going to be doing it, right?
But, I mean, Lindo,
Yes.
your mouth's running. See to it.
Sorry.
"I will approve payment of a further 100 gold upon arrival in Jaral."
I am not upset anymore. I wasn't upset to begin with.
"I thank you, noble heroes, for all that you have done and all that you do for us. Our kingdom is brighter with your presence." At that, he gives kind of a bow, kind of half bow, but then he starts to cough, and Seldtih actually leans over, hands him the kerchief again, and stands up and says, His Majesty will be taking the evening alone. Thank you for coming, and thank you for acquiescing to his request.
I have a question.
Yes.
Not to anybody in particular, but can I see what color that phlegm is inside that hanker?
You may not. Thank you,
Lindo.
and good night.
It's a little weird.
No, it's not. I just wanted to see if he was dying.
Lindo!
To which several people at the table are like, oh, this.
This is why we can't have nice things.
What, don't you want to be a good adventurer and save the king by getting him like some medicine?
You know,
King-
chances are he's...
King Westing is helped up by Seldtih and is starting to be led out by him as the guard stand at attention more and then kind of file out after him, close the doors behind him. And the cheer goes up round the table as the surrounding nobles and merchant all cheer to the health of the king and the glory of Dariel, and that, dear Digitizers, is where we will leave this session. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, game on, Internet!